Hey guys, this is Blake from Blake's Sanctum, retro site for retro games. Subscribe.
Welcome to a special bonus episode in my website and video series covering classic Civilization genre games like Colonization, Master of Magic, Test of Time, Alpha Centauri, Call to Power, and of course the Civ series itself. In these bonus videos, I'll be touring some of the awesome fan games and my favourite scenarios and mods for all these games, as well as my own personal mods, while also trying to sneakily play as the barbarians via hacks or cheats. In my main series, I show you how to play these great old games in HD using either special versions, tricks or mods. Check out the playlist link up top or in the video description and comments below to see the other episodes. Hey guys, bringing you another special bonus episode in my huge video series covering classic Civilization genre games like Colonization, Master of Magic, Call to Power, Alpha Centauri, and of course the Civilization series itself. And in these bonus episodes, I take a closer look at fan games and mods that enhance or recreate these great old games. And this is one of the best of them all, the FreeCol project. Now, the FreeCol project is a fan-made remake or sequel of sorts to the great almighty turn-based strategy classic Sid Meier's Colonization. Now, this fan game project has been worked on for like 20 years now, so it's packed full of features and great content that I'm looking forward to showing you guys later in this video. We can already see one of its features playing right now in that they have a nice intro video using what appears to be old footage from movies and documentaries. In fact, I'd love to know what movie these naval battles are from, as I love a good colonial ship-of-the-line documentary or film. But anyway, I'm going to give you guys a nice big tour of FreeCol in this video, and I'm also going to talk a bit about games that are similar to Colonization and fan games and mod projects related to Colonization. Then I'll talk about some of the awesome third-party mods for FreeCol that add heaps of new maps and factions to play as, and then I'll start a new game to show you how FreeCol looks. And then I'll load some gorgeous and action-packed save games from much later in the game to really show off FreeCol's features. So if you want to skip ahead to any of these parts, then I'll be putting time skip links in the video description below. This bonus episode is part of a bigger series where I'm showing people how to play each Civilization genre game in HD, as well as doing bonus episodes showing off cool scenarios and mods and how to play as the barbarians and some console conversions. So to see all that, make sure you check out the playlist link in the video description below too. Now, I'm a huge Colonization fan. I grew up playing it all through the 90s and have returned to it every few years in the decades since. And in one of my recent playthroughs, I actually managed to get the game working in HD via a virtual machine, and it looks awesome on a big screen. So if you want to see more about that, check out my main Colonization tour video in this series. Now, I'm such a huge fan of this game that over the last year I've also been creating several social media groups on Facebook and Reddit and Discord for Colonization, as I couldn't believe that this great old series had no presence on social media, so feel free to join these groups and I'll stick links in the video description. Now, Colonization did of course get an official sequel/remake with the Civilization 4 Colonization game released in the 2000s. However, a lot of fans were not very happy about a number of things with that game, and thankfully that's led to some huge mods of it that either make it feel more like classic Col or add heaps of extra features to massively expand the game, which I hope to cover in future videos. But if you want more of a classic look, then that's where something like this FreeCol project might be of interest to you. As being a 2.5D isometric game, it really reminds me of that Civ 2 late 90s era, and sort of makes it feel like it bridges the gap between the 2D classic Colonization and the 3D Civ 4 Colonization eras. There's other cool retro options for fans too, such as the recently released fan game called Treasure Fleet that looks very late 90s Civ 2 era, but has a number of interesting changes to the classic Colonization formula. And another one I recently found was the FreeMars, a fan game that combines Colonization and those good old Civilization Mars scenarios. And it basically really is Sid Meier's Colonization, but just on Mars. I mean, everything else is practically the same. It's really cool and I've enjoyed playing it, so I'll probably cover that later as well. And speaking of Civilization, there's a whole bunch of fan-made scenarios and mods for Civ games that allow you to colonise the entire world, or even play as the natives to keep those pesky Europeans out. I talk more about these in my main colonisation video, and I'll do more videos in the years to come covering these awesome games and mods. Oh, and speaking of trying to play as the natives, I'm doing a bonus video series where I try to play as the barbarians in every Civilization game via hacks and cheats. So I've also been trying to take control of the natives in Colonization too, with some mixed results. I'd love to try in FreeCol too, but the devs say it's impossible. But if I ever do succeed, then I'll do a separate video about that too. Now let's get stuck into FreeCol, shall we? This fan game has some really cool advantages over classic colonization. It's actually still worked on even today after like 20 years, with new fans coming in and adding new features. Now what are some of those advantages, you ask? Well, for starters, it's highly moddable and comes with a whole bunch of cool third-party mods, including ones that allow you to plant forests and train native workers into regular colonists, and there's custom units and resources and graphics and different interface types like the classic wooden interface that was used in older versions of FreeCol, and one of my favourites being the ability to play as more than the original 4 nations from colonization. In fact, we're about to go way past that limit, but I'll show you more on that in a minute. The other advantage in FreeCol is that it's highly customizable, because this was originally a port of the FreeCiv engine, so it's retained a lot of those wonderful options to really play with all. I mean, just look at all this stuff. You can play with the natives, you can change their attitude and massively increase the amount of their settlements on the map, which will go great if you increase the main nation's player count too. You can play with the monarchy and government settings and money and the amount of good and bad rumours you get, and AI cheating as well. There's all sorts of stuff. Now when starting a new game, if you leave things on default, then you'll end up with the traditional 4 nations game of classic colonization. But if you scroll down here, you'll see an extra 4 nations come with FreeCol, allowing you to have big 8-player games. So just imagine that, games with twice as many nations as classic colonization. You just have to change their availability to AI, and then they'll be in the game. And of course you can play as them too if you want. But wait, there's more. As you saw me mention earlier, I've installed Mazim's New Nations mod, which you can get from the FreeCol forums, and that adds another 4 European nations, allowing for frickin' 12-player colonization games. How crazy is that? And on top of all that, these should work in multiplayer too. Although you can imagine how long the game turns would be if you had like 12 human players. So, maybe just you and a mate versus 10 other AIs might be best. Now Mazim, the modder that made this, is also working on yet another 4 nations, including some Asian ones, allowing for 16-player games, which would be insane. Of course, we're getting rather historically inaccurate with adding all these extra nations that didn't colonize America, so that's why they're staying as the third-party modders. The developers felt that they were already, pushing the limits of believability when they added the Russians and so forth. But anyway, I'll go as traditional England, and now for the next awesome part. You can either generate your own random map using a whole bunch of different customizable settings, or you can select from all these custom maps. There's so many now in the latest test versions of FreeCol. There's a whole bunch of variants of the Americas, and then you've got Africa and Australia, which is of course tempting for me being Australian. There's also multiple Caribbean maps here for any Spanish fans watching this, and you've even got super Earth maps, which I'll show you more of later. So just imagine a 16-player game on a giant Earth map with the natives increased to maximum as well. Biggest colonization game ever. I'll also show you guys the map editor included with FreeCol that was used to make these maps a bit later too. Now if you want to be more traditional and go with a nice Americas map, then don't worry, there's some great options here. This one is probably my favourite as it's pretty huge, probably 3 times the size of the original colonization Americas map, and I had a brilliant test game on this which I'll be loading up later. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Mazim's also working on another mod that adds more Native American tribes, and may even add other native nations from around the world too, which would be good for maps like the African one and the Australian one, which would be super cool. So I'm looking forward to that one being finished, although I believe you can even play as test versions now. Now lastly, I want to insert 2 quick disclaimers in that I actually filmed all the gameplay stuff a year or so ago. However, so much had happened since then with all these amazing new maps and mods coming out that I decided to refilm the entire intro to give you guys the full up-to-date info. So you'll notice an old version number on the gameplay stuff. Oh, and I should also point out that FreeCol has no gameplay music. So usually I just used a YouTube colonization music playlist when I was playing my big game. And so of course for the purposes of this video I'll do something similar and play some of the good old Jeff Briggs colonization songs we all know and love. Now there's one more settings area we can check before starting the game. Yeah, you can configure even more stuff here with the colonies, natural disasters, victory conditions. It's so customizable! Alright, start game. Beautiful. Looks like, judging by that mini-map, we're up around North America. So we'll head out of the ocean with our little caravel and our starting guys. As you can see, you start pretty much the same way as original colonization. You've got a military guy and a pioneer guy with some tools. Should make landfall very soon. Like I said, it's a big map. Aha! We're very north. In fact, we're in Canada. That's how north we are. Let's landfall everyone. Virginia. New England. And I like it, like, some of the cool things about this game is that for those scenes where we got those cute cartoon ones in the original game, they're using a lot of real paintings, well-known paintings and drawings. It's the same for the Founding Fathers as well, which I'll show you in a minute. Got our usual advisor instructions here, and we'll send this caravan out exploring, and I don't think we can move them yet, so we'll go to next turn. And there's an Indian. And look, notice how there are now territories and borders, just like in the modern Civ and colonization games. So we could make a... yeah, that's fine, we'll take it anyway. I'm playing a serious game here, and I'm going to load a save game in a sec to show you, really show off the game. So this is the city screen. As you can see, it's a bit different to the old one. Most of the interface in this game is done with sort of like a paper look, and there's also a great modding scene, which is and a lot of mods actually come with the latest versions that allow you to activate an old wooden interface. There's one that allows you to plant trees, like in Civ. I wish I'd seen that before I started my big game, because sadly you can't activate them after you start a game. You've got to do it before you start one. And planting trees would have been awesome, because you could plant jungle, all the terrains respective of whatever terrain you were planting it on. Really cool stuff. Now that is a lost city there. What could go wrong? Trinkets worth 68. Why thanks. And we'll go meet the natives. Usually get a nice thing for that. There we go. Oh, got lots of things happening. So we've got a founding father. Indians no longer demand payment for their land. It's always a handy one, isn't it? And Henry Hudson increases fur trappers, military. That's good for being mean to natives, which I'm not. Liberty Bell production, missionaries. There you go. And notice how, yeah, paintings and photos, depending on who they are. I think there's not really, no, probably no photos actually. It's all paintings and drawings back in these days. Look at this. The Souks welcome you, and of course you'll get a nice different drawing for every different nation. 8 camps. Yes. Petty criminal in London. Click on that. This is the London screen. Of course, I love the old London screen in the original Civ with the harbour and the water and everything. I do miss that a bit, but nevertheless, functions pretty much the same way. You got some interesting options. So commission is missionary. There's all the usual stuff. And yeah, once you meet the chief, every time you click on the town, you'll know what resources they're after and what they will train your colonists in. So, which is very handy, because in the original game you had to send in a scout in there every bloody time to speak to the chief, which was extremely annoying. So this is massively boosted trading with the Indians. Alrighty, so I'm going to load one of my save games so I can really show you guys how amazing and big and beautiful looking the American map is. So I'll load up this old mid-game one. That should do it. In this game I was playing as the English and I colonized in South America, but to give you some perspective, I'll zoom out. Look at that, isn't it just massive? It's crazy. Now we just started a new game where I think we landed up around here in Canada. So I think we landed sort of somewhere around here, and there was an Indian village there, and so, you know, there was all this nearby, and it was just massive. At this stage in the game I hadn't explored up there yet, but if you check out, you know, if you're an experienced Colonization 1, the original game, look at the South American map in that, and then look at the one here. Like, literally the Amazon was like a little thing that went through, like it was, you know, it was pretty much about that big, you know, whereas this has got to be about 3 or 4 times the size. It is absolutely massive. And I landed about here, and yeah, I built up an empire, taking whatever major resource I could. I've got a sugar city, a cotton city, and so forth, a few jungle cities. I've got a city bringing in some silver. And the Indians are really good to trade with. This is an example now. I can finally show you what it looks like when you've visited somewhere. So it'll tell you what they're very interested in and what they'll also trade with you. And this one is will trade expert farmers. It's, you know, all sorts of stuff. And now I can show you. I decided to, of course, go the full 8 Europeans. So we've got the French there, and we've got, yep, we've got New Amsterdam here, and the Dutch, of course, and down here we've got the Russians. The Russians are in South America. And it looks like they've colonized some islands out there as well. And up north there's, yep, here we go, Danish have taken the islands here. Looks like this is probably the Spanish. Yep, Spanish are in North America. It's all a bit backwards in this game, isn't it? Everyone's in the wrong continent. And we've got the Swedish up here, in the right up in the Canada area. So yeah, there's and of course lots of Indian nations. And it's interesting because the Indian nations' borders will actually expand as the game progresses, which is interesting. I wasn't expecting that. Which can, of course, it sort of means it can push you into conflict with them if you're not careful. So you've got to really work on those founding fathers to keep everyone happy. But let's hop into a city. And this, as you can see, it's a bit more developed than the other one you guys saw. I've already got some specialists, I'm doing some training, and yeah, a bit of cool stuff happening here. Alright, so I think I'll next what I'll do is I'll show you guys the map editor and the Super Earth map, which would be really cool to play. We'll go to main menu. Yeah, we'll go into the map editor. And so yes, you know, you can create your own maps in here. Plenty of people have, and there's a huge map pack out there made by one fan who's made so many cool maps, and I'll definitely put a link to it in my video description for anyone who's interested. As he's the one who created the Super Earth. He's also done some Australian maps, and he's done maps of pretty much every continent you can think of. He's done an incredible job, and hopefully they'll start including some of his maps in some of the up-and-coming official releases too. Now, I warn you guys, this map editor is rather unstable in the current build, so hopefully they'll stabilise it again in some of the up-and-coming releases over the next few years, because it is prone to sort of jamming and stuffing up a fair bit. But if we go new empty map, oh no, hang on, we don't want to, actually no, let's do a random one and see what it does. Yep, so there you go. No. Oh, there we go, right click, Daniel, right click. Ooh. Oh, that's nifty. Look at that. You can draw a box. And, woo! There you go. So you could, you know, do all kinds of crazy stuff with this. But if I go new, and we do one of the existing ones, Like for instance, you know, there's the America map, and bang, look at that. Now you can see a lot of North America. And you know, you could, you know, start planting the European nations down and even sort of, you know, really configuring your own kind of scenario. So you can build maps, you can build scenarios that can be loaded like a save game or used to create a new game. It's quite flexible, this engine. And if I go new and I grab that Super Earth, we'll see what this one does. Now this is ridiculous, guys. Look at this. Now, you know, this is, I've got it on max. You know, maxed out. It's as far zoomed out as I can get, and it's just huge. So if I go over to the other side here, look at this. North America is only probably slightly smaller than it is in the big America map. So it's only slightly smaller, except now you got the rest of the world, which is just insane. Like absolutely insane. It's just got, and now you got more northern stuff, and it's crammed full of Indians. And look at this, there's South America, which we were just looking at. So as you can see, it's a little bit smaller, but not much. Like, it's only, yeah, it's still massive, way bigger than it was in the original colonization. And it's just crazy to think that now there's the rest of the world as well. So let's go back across. New Zealand, Australia, a little bit wonky with Australia, doesn't look quite right, but it's, no, it's not too bad. Look at that, isn't that insane? It's a weird glitch down there, I don't know what that's all about. Africa. God. And the Indian nations appear to be bunched into their correct, like, not correct areas, but like they're not randomly spread, but you can set them to be randomly spread. You can set the European nations to not always start on the right side of the map, which is traditional colonization settings. You can tell them to start in deep water, basically. So, and when I experimented with that, I found that when playing with the 8 European nations, 4 started on this side, 4 started on the other side, which was pretty good. So, you know, I've actually been in the forums and I've suggested to them to add another 4 colonizing nations, like the Germans and the Italians, the Norway, and there was Belgium maybe. Because, you know, this game ships, well, it doesn't ship with this map, this is made by a fan, but those other maps all ship with it, which include, you know, Africa and Lower Europe and the Pacific Islands. And so, you know, if you're going to ship with those games, you may as well include the other European nations, because then that would mean that you could have a crazy 12-player European nation game. So imagine that, 12 players, you put the Indian slider up to maximum, and before you know it, you've got the largest ever game of colonization. It would be crazy. So anyway, I'm going to load another save game and really show you guys all the advisors, and because there's a whole bunch of new advisors in this game. It's really cool. Okay, so we're going to load Declare Independence. Now, this will be a lot further. Look at this. As you can see, the Swedish have been busy. That's the terrain view. We can get much more information about what your cities will get for it, which is pretty cool. But yeah, look at that. Swedish and Spanish have been very busy. Colonized a large piece of Northern America, although of course the Wild West and central USA areas are all pretty much uncolonized. The Spanish have come over here a bit though. Danish have been busy. Look at that, they've taken a few islands there. And as you can see, I've been busy. Look at this. All my cities are now in big fortresses. And I should also point out, for those, I'm playing this on big 46-inch screens, so you may not like the default resolution. So this game is quite customizable. You can zoom in. I'm actually noticing that the sprites, sort of like units and building stuff, seem to be at a higher resolution than the terrain. Because look at the detail on that compared to the jungle, which is interesting. But yeah, you can pretty much customize it to whatever you want. You've got the zoom controls here, and yeah, it's pretty I'm getting lost in the graphics. I love the look, I love the colours. I knew about this game for many years, but I just didn't really get around to trying it for a long time because I think their website, like the pictures on their website, are mainly of randomly generated maps, and I find that they're not quite as pretty because the terrain is really like a weird patch blanket. Whereas when it's an actual human-made map, it just looks beautiful. Like everything looks like it. It really shows off how good this engine actually is, like the graphics in this engine, because I actually didn't think the graphics was that impressive for years because of the screenshots I saw on the internet. So I'm hoping with my pictures and this video I might be able to advertise the game a bit better, because I found the pictures I've seen over the years did not attract me to the game until I just decided to try it for the hell of it recently and was really blown away. So look at Dansville. This is as you can see, I've been very busy. I've now got lots of production stuff going on, and I've built all my buildings. I think I'm just building frigates because I've already built all the buildings. Got lots of dragoons and artillery in there, cannons or whatever. Yeah, well, I've been busy training up lots of guys in my university, and I also decided to build a fortress here so I could make like a Panama Canal, and bridge the two oceans. Quite a handy thing to do both in Civ and Colonization games if you're playing on the real planet. And yeah, let's have a look at look at this. Now, as you can probably tell straight away, there's a huge amount more advisors than in the original Colonization. There's so much more information you can get in this one. It's absolutely brilliant. So we've got our religious advisor, shows you more information. The original Colonization, it was literally just the cross production. Now you can see where they're coming from, whether you need more priest guys in a particular city's cathedral. As you can see, I'm pretty much done. Labour advisor, of course, that's just the same as in the original Colonization. Colony advisor. This is quite handy, gives you a lot of information. It shows you the defences, the colonists at work in there, the buildings that are being built, some information on what it's producing. So you can get lots of information there about your colonies. And we've got foreign affairs. And at this stage, I'd bullied the French, and they ended up, surprisingly, giving up. And they gave their colony to the Danish, and I was like, well, I'm not having that. You can stay on your bloody islands. And so I smashed the colony and took it for my own. So there's now 7 European nations here. And the Indians, look at this, you get great information on the Indians. Sadly, you don't get any information on their guns and horses, which is a shame, because that was quite useful in the original Colonization. But nevertheless, you get all sorts of other information that you needed that wasn't in the original Colonization, like skills taught and their trade interests. And it's broken up by tribe. So your missionaries there. So you can get lots of useful information. A lot of them are none, because I have taken their training from them. Although some cities will just keep training your guys again and again, thankfully. And Continental Congress. I do miss that cartoonish picture of all in the room, but nevertheless, this is what I've shown you guys before. You've actually got now like real paintings and drawings of the real people, which is kind of cool. So I've already got all of them. And military advisor. So you can see the size of the Royal Expeditionary Force, and I am looking pretty good to smash them. Doesn't seem to really increase much. In fact, that could be a bug. I noticed that they were increasing their man of wars all the time, but they didn't seem to be really increasing their actual army that much, so they might need to work on that, because as you can see, I am very ready for them. Got some scouts out and about looking around. Oh yeah, because of course this game shows you the nice fog of war. So it's useful having scouts out and about to detect any sneak attacks and things coming in. And naval advisor. Speaking of man of wars, they got some there. There's my navy. Because yeah, they kept increasing them, so they got a stack of them. Crazy amount of them. Trade advisor. Pretty similar to the original game, except now it's got its own screen. In the original game you had to go, I think it was to colony and then hit another button, which was annoying. Turn report. This is just bringing back, the thing, although it doesn't work when you loaded a save game, but it's useful for going back to when you've got lots of things going on. This is really cool. They've got this auditing tool that will actually go through all your colonies and give you advice on things you're missing. And so it's advising me about how, I've basically got, factories and things producing more than what the source materials can provide. So that's what it's whinging about there. So they're things I've left. But it'll advise you about much more serious problems and tiles that haven't been, terraformed or farmed or, put roads on things like that. So this is really handy. Really, really handy for helping you be a better player. I strongly suggest you try it out. If you have a go at this cargo report. This is handy for figuring out where all your guys are. Basically, you can click on them and it'll take you to where they are, so you know what they're up to. And exploration report just gives you a history of sort of all the places you've discovered and what you called them. History report will give you everything you've done in the game. I'm not going to load it because it loads this massive list. Production report is something where you can pull up certain things and it'll give you various stats on it. Look at that, pretty cool. And education reports, you can look at all your universities and see who can potentially teach, who is a potential student, but I've of course trained everyone, so there aren't any. I haven't got any colonists sitting around here. But it's very useful when you're busy training people. And then this gets into the real sort of just reminding you of all your game selections. And of course we've got Europe. As you can see, I have not needed anyone for a while, so they've been stacking up there. And you've got old trade routes, just like in the original game, except they're far more customizable now. First circuit, this was a big one where I had, like a caravan picking up fur from various colonies and then dumping them at certain ones, then picking up more and then coming back, and then it was getting converted to coats and so forth at Cooper's Cove there. So yeah, as you can see, there's just so much useful advices and information. The game is just, it's beautiful, it's full of great stuff. It's a little rough around the edges with occasional bugs here and there, but it's still being worked on, and these guys could really use your help. Go there, play a big game, put in bug reports, and if you're talented, if you're good at programming and art and stuff like that, then get in there and help these guys. It's a 15-year-old project. It's pretty much a complete game. I was able to play a whole game, declare independence, and left quite satisfied. It was really enjoyable. In fact, I was very addicted for a few weeks, just constantly hitting next turn, next turn. So yeah, I strongly encourage you guys to check it out. And I think as a final thing, I'll declare independence and show you some battles with the English. Let's do it. Look at this. You can totally customize your new American flag, which is pretty cool. I'll just leave it as is. And we've been offered some troops. No, I'll just say no to that for now. And it tells you how all your veteran soldiers have become colonial regulars. Gives you all the information. Tells you about all that kind of stuff. And also tells you, I think, all your people you had sitting in England have been captured. And some Indians have gone to help them against us, which just means we'll have to deal with them. And then the force will arrive and drop guys, just like in the original game. So I'll show you a save game where that was happening. Open and victory. As you can see, I was battling the last of the English here. They've still got a pretty sizable army, I think. What have they got here? Yeah, got artillery, infantry. So I've already taken out their cavalry, or dismounted their cavalry. I've got my own man of wars now, because this game lets you build them. Once you've declared independence, you can actually build them, whereas in the original colonization, you can only be gifted them, I'm pretty sure. So that was kind of handy. I think they'd already taken out my defences here, sadly. Yeah, look at that. They're all being repaired. All my man of wars are being messed about. Look at this, I've got lots of colonial regulars here. And yeah, let's show you some action, shall we? No, he's ready to move. Look at this. So they've got their base defense, King's regular bonus, infantry bonus, terrain bonus, and my artillery's got a base defense and attack bonus. Bang. He's gone out of the town, then back into it. Victory, I got him. Slaughtered. What else we got here? Shall we grab a cavalry? Show you what that's like. Oop, I clicked the wrong button. Attack bonus, dragoon bonus. Of course, the infantry is so strong. Although I noticed the bonus system is a little bit different to the original Colonization. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But the odds are a little bit against us. And that's an annoying problem. When you leave a city and go back into it, it brings up the city screen, so it's not great for battles. I think they need to work on that. I think that's pretty much counted as a bug. But anyway, victory at Dansville, we got him. So yeah, it's maybe I won't spoil it and show the victory in this one. I'll let you guys play the game and let you guys find out how it all ends for yourselves. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this tour. As I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a series where I'm showing Civilization and Colonization and even Master of Magic, all the old Microprose games, and how you can play special, not so well-known Windows versions in HD. So you can play these old games that you probably most of us played in DOS in good old VGA, which looks terrible blown up on our giant screens now. You can now play these same old games in HD, and they look brilliant. And technically, it's amazing. You can see half the bloody world. And plus, I plan to cover some of the amazing fan games and awesome total conversion mods out there, including some of my own that I've been working on. Yeah, I'll put links to them. I've probably already done it throughout this video. I'll put them in as cards, but I'll also put it in as the end card as well. And yeah, hope you guys check it out and enjoy. It's another thing I forgot to mention is that this game was built using the free Civ engine, which is another fan project which has been going for about 20 years or so, and I'll probably do a video of them too, because they've got a really nice much bigger team working on that one, so it's even more polished, and you can play crazy 126 player games and all kinds of stuff. It's amazing. It's really cool. So I'll probably do some kind of crazy game of that at some point, and I'll link to it at the end of this video. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and once again I strongly suggest you guys check out this project and give your support to the team in any way you can, either by testing or contributing. They're on GitHub, they're on SourceForge, so fork it, look at it, do whatever you want with it. Just anything you can do to help. Alright, thanks guys, see you next time.